To answer your question there, when the VHS first came out, it looked very revolutionary, and then that came the DVD, which that felt even more revolutionary. The difference between the DVD stage or DVD Blu-ray to streaming stage, the biggest difference there is if streaming was to just disappear, all content is lost. See, what happened with the DVD stage, it took the VHS format and improved upon it. It's not like it changed anything with the film. All it did was add some extra features here. Being able to, let's say, have menus where you can fast forward to specific chapters of a movie. Maybe add some special features or commentary from the directors and actors who worked on the movie. Um, with streaming, however, even though some of those options do exist on the streaming platforms, there is content that is made specifically for streaming that does not come out on DVD and Blu-ray. So with that aspect, you have to look at things now. For example, if streaming goes out of business, I mean, there was that one streaming platform called Quibi that died. I think it was 2-3 years ago. All the content that was on that streaming platform is now lost forever. There's no physical media of it that exists. It's all just lost for good. So Christopher Nolan definitely has a point where if these things do disappear, there is no physical media. And yeah, I know it is convenient to be able to just put on any streaming platform that you want. You can look up any streaming movie you want. If I want to look up, maybe let's say my favorite movie is Lord of the Rings, I just have to see what streaming platform they're on and pull up that streaming page, and I could watch it. See, what happens now these days is we as a society become way too reliant on technology to the point where we need even more convenience in our lives. Even though back in the day, when the VHS existed, you had to have the hassle of making sure everything was rewinded, making sure the cassette was clean, the VHS player was clean, DVD player came out, you had to make sure. I mean, first off, the DVD didn't have to worry about having to rewind anything. Maybe you had to worry about a scratch here and there, but it made things much easier than a VHS player. Now with streaming, it's just made things too easy for us. So being able to have that physical media makes you feel more connected to those around you. I can't tell you how many times where I, for example, put on a DVD or Blu-ray on rather than search for something on streaming. Being able to just pop in a DVD just like that with the company I'm around makes me feel more connected to them because we chose to put some physical media on. And on top of that, that physical media I have, whether it's a DVD or Blu-ray or even a VHS, I can say it belongs to me and I can watch it whenever I want without having to worry about it disappearing off a streaming platform.
It's a tricky subject to talk about because I never thought about that as much. I guess like we're as a society we're just so hooked up on convenience and how easy access we can get to that stuff. You know, streaming like click of a button on any website. Same thing with digital, yeah, pretty much it's streaming or digital, because you know you can rent movies online pretty much or you can even stream it. It's just click of a button, but it's also considered that because they have the authority to put on and what to remove on streaming services. So during that IGN interview with Christopher Nolan, right, that's his name, you know, at like today will be on. Today your movie will be on, but tomorrow they remove it. You know, so your library is just refreshed with new things, and it's like, I guess it's like whatever for the new movies, but for the old stuff, you know, it's something that I thought about where you know, what about those old school movies that got us to where we are today? You know, we can't forget. I mean, as a filmmaker, I can't forget about those movies, or filmmakers in general. You know, and having that physical format, as I mentioned earlier about the vinyls, they're a time capsule. So they're a time capsule, and you know, each one has, you know, each vinyl has a story to it. And I picked this up at Half Price Books, but I think in the back says right here 1967 RCA New York, printed in USA. So I want to say what, probably a transfer from because originally this is, you know, in Italy. Everything was produced in Italy and got transferred to the US. You know, this format has a story to tell, and this is going to be mine forever. You know, this is a piece of history that I have from 67, and nobody's going to have that. And to know that I can access this, like, and listen to this at any time at my own pleasure. Oops. I'm always going to have access to it. Versus with digital streaming, we're just click of a button away and we can just watch it. Because let's say one day, you know, whoever's in charge of the streaming services, they just say, you know what, we're never going to show this movie ever again through stream because it doesn't get enough views and it doesn't make money off of it, you know. That's one part of it. And it's like, well, what about this one movie that you just think of, like, you want to watch whatever out of nowhere? And that's why I say I think we should have the physical copies. The only thing drawback about physical copies is that I think they make too much of it, and that's why unfortunately they'll get ended up in landfills, whatever. And I feel like they should make them, but not as much quantities, because eventually those movies are gonna end up at the damn Salvation Armies, you know, or be sold for $1 at one of those like outlet stores, you know. So I wouldn't make as much of them and just have like a good balance, if that makes sense.
Well, I worry about the environmental impact of all those discs and all that plastic packaging that isn't going to get recycled most likely. I don't think you can compare the move from VHS to DVD or DVD to Blu-ray or Blu-ray to 4K with the movement to streaming because of the crucial difference. It's like you can compare going from the horse and carriage to the car, right? But streaming is essentially different than physical media. More so, I would say like 4K is the next step past. Streaming, that's a whole different animal because you do not control that. You do not control that. Nolan is right. Martin Scorsese has said this as well. If you rely on streaming for movies, then you are putting the control of that in somebody else's hands, a corporation's hands. And as they point out, Netflix, all these major streaming services are cutting things. They're taking things away, often for tax reasons. So they're controlling what you get to watch. You know, you can go, oh, I'm going to stream this, and you may be able to download a copy of it, and that's okay. But if you're relying simply on streaming, you are giving power of film history and archival and the archival nature of film to a corporation, and that I think is a bad thing.